This is from the website, The Way, the Truth, and the Life. The main purpose of this video is to present the testimony of Bruno Bettelheim on his value of the Jewish Old Testament, even though he wasn't religious. It is part of the section in my website foundation titled With Christ's Spirit, the subsection Bible Background in the English Bible. I'm including it here because the value and insights of the old folktale cultures before there were written language. Bruno discovered in his study of folktales that many of the stories in the Old Testament, the Jewish Bible, were in many healthy cultures. Aside from Bruno, also he mentioned the flood was in many cultures, and it does appear that there was a blockage at Gibraltar, that the Mediterranean was lower than sea level, like the Caspian Sea and the sea there in Israel are today, but that the Gibraltar was essentially a dam that broke and flooded as the water flooded through the Mediterranean to the east and up over the mountains, that those civilizations in that area, that was a prehistoric time, that is before writing, so that the events went on as folk tales told by the elders. So that's the main purpose of presenting this bit on Bruno Bettelheim, but there are other things in there. He was making a round of colloquia at the different universities as part of his retirement, and I had the good fortune to have an invitation to the University of Buffalo, and he spoke there, and I had the opportunity to ask him if he was religious, and the answer was no, but he had a great respect for the Jewish Bible because of the intent of it to bring health. And this thing about Abraham, if you look back into infanticide, it's historical. It now appears to something like 2 million years ago there was a weather change, and the center of Africa turned into a savanna, that's a grass field, and we emerged as hunter-gatherers, and up to 60% of the men in that type of society died by violence, and the main violence was attacking another tribe to get their young women. That's simply God's laws of propagation. What goes on is what propagates, and what propagated were those that had different genetic makeup than between the two mates. Inbreeding caused degeneration of the tribe. You can find even amongst Eskimo tribes with so few people, a man traveling through would be invited to sleep with the wife or daughter, having nothing to do with lust. The need for new genetics was a life and death matter for propagating healthy children. All right, let's get on with it.
As the Nazis came to power in Austria in the 1930s, Bruno Bettelheim was managing the family lumber business. He and his wife had a foster child, an American girl that was autistic. Bruno had followed the warnings of the Nazis and was leaving the country when he was arrested. They let his wife go. Bruno made detailed observations of the prisoners. Just before the practice was ended, Bruno was bought out and came to America. In 1944, Bruno was appointed professor of psychology at the University of Chicago. Bruno also served as director of the home and school for autistic and disabled children. I met Bruno at a colloquium at the University of Buffalo, where he spoke on folk tales and how healthy cultures all have them in a big variety, and the ones that go on from generation to generation are the ones that have teaching value, like the jealous brother. These types of folk tales help people understand and deal with problems of a culture. Bruno characterized survivors of the Holocaust and characterized children of the kibbutzim. On survivors of the Holocaust, Bruno noted three groups: two that managed their lives and one group that didn't. The one group suppressed their experience and they went on to do business. The other group had talked about their experiences so much that they had some type of healing and were able to go on and form healthy relationships. The third group couldn't talk about their bad experience enough to assimilate it and couldn't suppress it and move on. Bruno, in his foreword to a fellow prisoner's book on the Holocaust, angered many Jews. Bruno put some of the blame on the Jews for being so tied to their possessions in Germany that they would not leave, even when warned of what was to come. The Jews are a strong political force, but even stronger is the American Women's Liberation Network. The ability to destroy reputations and impugn the reputation of people who recognize that mothering or the lack of it is a significant cause of harm to the child, both in the lack of a healthy pregnancy and the lack of a healthy bond in the first 6 months of life. The political power of the Women's Liberation Network is so strong that judges have ruled in their favor that mercury in the injections is the cause of autism, when the scientific proof shows contrary. Females raised without a healthy maternal bond are not bad people. They just lack the animal level ability to bond to their offspring. In Russia in 2006, they aborted more fetuses than there were live births. Many women just don't want to be mothers and don't know how to be mothers. When are we going to protect the rights of the unborn and newborn to the right to a healthy maternal bond, that their potential could be achieved later on in life?
This is just before the ending, and I want to give the important things between Abraham and us today that were meant to bring a healthier society, culture. Culture being the care of children, and society being the relationship between people. But the two main events between Abraham, which put an end to child sacrifice for the special people. The chosen people were the ones chosen not to sacrifice their children. That's why when they came out of Egypt, they even exterminated tribes that were doing infanticide and attacking the Jewish. But that's another matter. After Abraham replaced child sacrifice with animal sacrifice. And when coming out of Egypt, Moses declared the 10 Commandments, universal laws that even pharaohs were subject to. They couldn't murder people just because that was their order. That all, even kings and priests, were subject to these laws. And they were universal. And he also uh, give a written set of documents and a priesthood that went on to indoctrinate young men so they would be robots to carry on the culture as they did till 1948, often without a country, but the culture lived on. But Christ came actually to end that culture, to end the priesthood, that we could have a direct relationship with our source of existence. And for this, the priests accused him and took him to the Roman courts so that he could be killed. And that's the way it is. Now, today, where are the chosen people? They take my tax money to pay for murdering infants. In some places, they have the postpartum killing, which Obama voted for when he was a senator in Illinois. But that's whole nother subject. Just a little bit of the end of what we're doing to try and promote a better world, and would look for the example of parents, grandparents that had raised healthy children and grandchildren. That by their fruits you shall know them, because there's so much nonsense being taught at the university. You couldn't take a course in child development and be a good parent. It has nothing to do with it. It's an intellectual exercise. The healthy children are being raised by the Amish farm families and the like, and the homeschooling and all these things that have shown to be generate healthy outcomes. Okay, we'll get on. This will be the end now of this introduction. Thank you. This is the ending message. This is the website, The Way, the Truth, and the Life. These are the guest rooms in our 3 homes, New York, Florida, and Russia. They are prepared for those messengers that Jesus prayed for in Luke chapter 10. And he gave them the instructions. Reading from Luke chapter 10, verse 1. After these things the Lord appointed 70 other also, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face into every city and place whither he himself would come. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am with them. Verse 2, therefore he said unto them, the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he would send forth laborers into the harvest. This is Jesus praying for more servants and asking us to do the same. Verse 3, go your ways. Behold, I send you forth as lambs among wolves. Verse 4, carry neither purse nor scrip nor shoes, and salute no man on the way. Verse 5, and into whatsoever house ye enter, first say, peace be to this house. Verse 6, and if the Son of Peace be there, your peace shall rest upon it. If not, it shall return unto you again. Verse 7, and in the same house remain, eating and drinking such things as they give, for the laborer is worthy of his hire. Go not from house to house. Verse 8, and into whatsoever city ye enter, and they receive you, eat such things as they set before you. Verse 9, and heal the sick that are therein, and say to them, the kingdom of God has come nigh unto you. Verse 10, but into whatsoever city ye enter, and they receive you not, go your way out into the streets of the same, and say, verse 11, even the very dust of your city, which cleaves on us, we wipe off against you. Notwithstanding, be ye sure of this, that the kingdom of God has come nigh unto you. Verse 12, but I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city. In closing, remember Matthew 18, verse 20, where Jesus said, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them.